Hi, welcome to Illinois Garden Zone 5. My name's Michelle and today we are doing an August garden tour, but I specifically am looking at one area. I'll show you the entire garden, but we are going to focus mainly on the raised bed garden, which is fairly new. We added that about 2 seasons ago, maybe even 3 seasons ago now. And every year I add different annuals, and I'm adding more perennials to it, but I want to show you how that is looking. Okay, so behind me is the cut flower garden, the raised garden beds. Now this used to just be yard, and we put down mulch and landscape fabric and then put the garden beds on top of it. And it's kind of evolved over the last couple years. I started off with a few pre-made garden beds that I'd purchased, wooden ones. They didn't last very long. So we ended up going with 2x8s. And my husband John put those together for me. And now I've just been having fun experimenting with different flowers that I like to cut for bouquets. So I'm going to take you off the tripod and show you specific ones that I think work really good for cut bouquets, but also look beautiful in the landscape if you just want them in your garden to look at. Okay, so we're going to start here. Now I added shorter ones in the front, and I do like to add marigolds. I do like marigolds, and in the fall I do cut them and put them in arrangements. But you'll notice on shorter flowers, something like this compact one, they do make good arrangement flowers if you're doing little bouquets. Think glass size or maybe a small planter. Beautiful yellow. Now cleome. I have planted tons of cleome this year. Pinks, purples, darker purples, lavenders. These are really good in cut flower arrangements, especially if you're doing them out in the garden. If you're putting them on a garden table, they look beautiful, they're frilly. Now inside, they do kind of shed. You can see down on the petals there how those leaves will drop. And so they're a little messy. So I like them out in the garden or on the patio or deck table more than I like them in the house, but I have taken them in the house before and used them in bouquets too. So if you're doing like a one-day event, gorgeous inside. But if you're thinking like you'd like a whole week of flowers inside, they do get a little bit messy. See, that is clary sage, and I like clary sage. I grow that from seed, and that is beautiful filler flower. That pink will be really pretty in some arrangements, for shorter arrangements. More pink cleome, and I've tried to do some repeating throughout the beds. We've got some short white snapdragons. Now this is a really pretty frilly salvia in a white. I also got it in a pink and a darker red, and that looks really nice in arrangements. That's an aster. Now I didn't have very good luck with the asters this year. I had 4 of these and I'm down to only 1 surviving. They start blooming and then the plant just dies. So I'm not sure what's going on with the asters, but it is a pretty little flower. Kind of reminds me of a little tight chrysanthemum. We've got some frilly daisies. They've just about finished, so we'll have to wait until they bloom again. And this year in my pots, I did put lavender, and I just gave it a nice trim. And so we're waiting for it to come back. I added the little fencing there, and I think that looks cute there. And then back here, I put some vinca, and the vinca has gotten tall enough that I cut on it and put it in bouquets, and it does look gorgeous in bouquets. Pretty purple flowers. That's Proven Winners Superbinia in that amethyst, and then we've got some of the white filler flower down there. So just a real easy combination. Looks gorgeous. Seen the wicker furniture that I redid? Well, I've added it out here in the garden, and I think it adds a beautiful seating arrangement. That vintage wicker that was originally white, and I painted it more of that tan khaki color to have it blend in more in the garden. Liking that there. My tall snapdragons, and they have done really well. This is their second flush. I would definitely grow these again, and they look gorgeous in arrangements. We've got some white coneflower mixed in. I do like this white coneflower. Not only is it fall, but it's also all summer long, and it just adds that pretty pop of color, and you can see the pollinators love it. And we've got a pretty dahlia. Now the thing about this dahlia, it is gorgeous, those flowers, but they're pretty short stems because they're really too short to do as individual flowers. Their stems aren't long enough, but I do like that color. Now be on the lookout for your vintage bird cages, vintage lanterns that you can turn into garden decor. I think that just adds some interest in the garden and looks beautiful there with the different colors of those cottage garden flowers. So we have another pot of lavender. I've got one on each side. And again, we try to mimic the sides. We want them to look similar. So we've got our Victoria Blue Salvia that I cut as filler flowers. We've got more of that white frilly salvia, which I think was new to me this year. I don't think I've planted it before. I don't recall planting it before. I do like how it looks so frilly. And like we see, the pollinators love it. So from this angle, I'm trying not to get the sun overhead here, but I think we're going to get it a little bit. You can see how nice it looks. It's all filling in, and I think the cleome really did help this year, having that taller cleome, and I added more on this side. So we've got the marigolds in this one also. We have some Dusty Miller, some tobacco flower, and then this pretty red that we can use as filler flower. This is going to be really pretty for this fall, I think, when I do fall bouquets. Some more dahlias. Now these are a little bit taller, but when I cut these, I go down and I'll cut off like a whole branch. My one tomato plant, look at all my tomatoes. I picked my first red tomato today. So we'll have lots of tomatoes. And I did plant cactus zinnias. I planted these for the first time last year and I really like them. So these were supposed to be a shorter version, but they have been just as tall. But they're going to look gorgeous in these dark pinks and oranges for fall arrangements, and they last very long, especially outside in the heat once they're cut even. We do have a couple of mini roses. I've got one there and one on the other side. Now these were actually those Trader Joe roses I got back in the spring inside that I showed you. Well, once it got warm, I moved them out and they're doing really well and filling in really well. This is a David Austin rose, very pretty. And this is Kiss Me Kate climbing rose, and she is doing just beautiful. She is loving her spot back here. I moved her, I had her in the back garden. She just wasn't doing too well back there. It was too shady. So last year I moved her back here, or maybe it was even the year before, and she has just taken off. And she's a shorter climber. She only gets to about 10 foot tall. So I thought she would fill in really nice back here. And you do, if you watched my May video on the garden, I lost a lot of my roses over winter and had to cut them down. All the ones that did survive got cut almost to the ground, and she was one of them. So she is flourishing and she's got a couple of buds on her. But like I said, we're about in between now on the roses. They'll do one more flush before fall. And so top picks, I'm liking the cleome this year. I always like the salvia. Either the clary sage or the Victoria blue work really well in arrangements. The tall snapdragons, really pretty also. And then for filler flowers, I'm liking the dahlias, the zinnias, the vinca. So I just keep trying different arrangements to see what works really well. And of course we're adding in now all kinds of hydrangeas. So I've got multiple hydrangeas. The little lime here just started blooming. So it still is showing that green color. So that'll make a beautiful filler. In the secret garden walkway, we've got 3 quick fire fabs going. Now these will get about 8 foot tall, 6 to 8 foot, and they're already starting to turn that pretty pinky color. The birdcage planter is still looking good, and that I just put a few annuals in this year. We've got some petunias, some verbena, some alyssum, and it's doing really well with our heat. We've got a few blooms left on Sitting Pretty. Now Sitting Pretty, I really cut back this one this year because I had tucked in a quick fire fab between two of the Sitting Pretties, and last year they just took over and you couldn't see the hydrangea. So I cut the roses back so we could see the beautiful hydrangeas and also that purple hardy geranium. Up front, I like how it climbs through the roses, but we wanted to see that. So I just kept trimming the roses to where we would still get visual interest and texture and different colors and less blooms on the pink roses, but that's okay because I do have this one here and then I have a third one right here. Now if you caught last video, you know we redid inside the garden house. And the statue that was there, I took inside to protect her and brought this one over. So Devin, our daughter, got me this one last season for Christmas, I think it was. And I had it tucked in a corner and I decided to move it over here. And I think it looks really cute there with the phlox. So that's Proven Winners phlox. It smells wonderful. And the roses last year actually filled that whole space in. So you can see how much I cut back. But they're doing good and they're starting to get buds on them again. I did give them their second feed in end of June, July time frame. So before long, probably in the next couple weeks, I'll be giving them their third feed. Now this is a great little hydrangea. If you have a tiny spot or you have a pot, a planter that you want something little, Firelight Tidbit, I had to think about it. So I really like that and I have two of those and it's just a perfect size if you're looking for a tight spot. And I like how it's short enough that you can still see the urn and the cloche behind it as architectural interest. The double knockouts are starting to bloom. We've got the red one. I have a pink one with buds on it and then another red one here right in front of Our Lady statue. So those will be really pretty when they open up again and they look really nice in layers with her in the background. And this is the David Austin corner and it is kind of in between blooms. We've got 3 David Austin roses, so that's why I call it the David Austin corner. This one is Olivia and she's usually huge. Last year she was taller than me, but we did have to cut her way back, as did all the others. Bosco Bell is really pretty too. And then I like to tuck a lot of salvia, the purple of the salvia in between the roses. So there's another little lime and you can see the difference. That one's under the tree, the magnolia tree. So it gets more shade, but it's doing really well in that dappled sun. We've got some roses over here. The clematis is about done, but intertwined with the purple clematis is a autumn clematis. So before long, that should start blooming. And I do like this hydrangea too, and it is gorgeous in arrangements with the florets on it. So this is also a panicle, but there is a different bloom. You can see this is more tightly shaped florets, where these are more open like flowers. So these make really pretty cut flowers. Both of them do, but I prefer this one. The downside on this one is these little flowers, they'll drop like pollen. So you'll get, if you're putting it on like a dark table, you'll notice the pollen on it, but they're just beautiful. Champagne Wishes is a gorgeous rose that has that creamy white color. Back here, we've got a little Quickfire that has the florets like I was talking about that is turning already. We've got a Jane Magnolia that's filling in. Now, one thing I really like about the Jane Magnolia is lots of things, but one of the things is I can trim it to make it work. It's very, very easy to trim with even hand pruners. So originally it was kind of hanging over and you couldn't see the lion fountain. So I just trimmed it into the shape that I needed it to be so we could see the decor in the layers too, the garden decor. So that's another good thing about the Jane Magnolia is it's easy to trim it. And of course we've got some salvia at the base, and then our black couture is just looking gorgeous. We've just got 3 things growing on the black couture. So I did buy one sweet pea plant, and if you remember last year, I said no, I would never do sweet peas indoors from seed again. I just didn't do well with them. But this one was already blooming well at the garden center when I bought it. And I thought, well, I'm going to try it because somebody else has already grown it. Because I just didn't have very good luck. They grew last year, but I just didn't get many flowers. So it's doing good. It's just starting to bloom. And then our white clematis, we replaced a rose and put a white clematis. And the white clematis has been blooming all summer long. So I'm liking that. And then we've got our little tiny rose in the back that's climbing in the back up the black wall trellis. And then over here we've got some salvia, bobos that are blooming now, hydrangeas, a red double knockout. And over here we did the same, but in a pink double knockout and the bobos. We've got some hostas that are getting ready to bloom in the back. The urn had some violas in it, and it's way past viola time here in the Midwest. Violas only make it until about July, and then it gets too hot. So I opted just to leave the urn as decor and as architecture versus putting another plant in it. I think it looks fine because I already have so much going on there with color and plants and textures that it's just a nice backdrop. Our viburnum is already starting to change colors, and it's getting the little berries on it, which is a sure sign that fall is coming. It's hard to believe this summer has went by so fast. The window boxes are still looking pretty with the ivy geraniums. And then our big thing over here, of course, is our limelights filling in. So for August, it's just looking beautiful. So are you curious how this back garden all got started? Well, I'll link that video so you can see how we began all this process a few years ago. Well, I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me, and I will see you in our next video. Have a great week.